Hi. So now that we've got a general idea about where we'd like to survive, we've looked at the climate, we've looked at the location, we've looked at the different environments, there's probably one crucial thing that we also need to look at, and that's what we need to survive. We tend to all assume that once you've got food and water, that's pretty much it. Um, but we need to look at sort of longer term survival. So, what we'll be looking at over the next few days are a couple of videos that deal primarily with survival and the survival skills that you would need, because that can often determine where we decide to live or where we decide to survive. So, there are a couple of YouTube videos that I've linked in my website, and I've also linked here as well. Um, and they go through it's from a TV show called Preppers. Some of you might be familiar with it. The first one deals primarily with zombie preppers, so people who honestly believe that we are going to suffer through something like a zombie apocalypse, and they are preparing supplies specifically for that. The second video looks more generally at survival, and there's a whole range of these prepper type videos on YouTube if you're interested in watching them, but it gives you a general overview. And one of the really good things about these shows is they look not just at the first couple of days of survival, but they look at the months and the years after that and how people will survive that. And one of the tasks that we'll be looking at later on is looking at how we would actually survive long term in our environment given those survival needs. So, after you've watched those couple of videos, there is also another documentary which I've shown to my class, but it will depend on whether your teacher is able to get a copy of it. It sounds worse than what it is, but it's a documentary or mockumentary called a reality show called Naked and Afraid. Now, all the naked bits are blurred out, so you don't actually see anyone naked. You see some bottoms, and that's about it. But the idea of the show is that there is a man and a woman who are dumped into an environment. They are naked and they're allowed one object each. So they might take a knife or an axe, or one woman took a metal container to boil water. And what's really interesting about this show is that these people have to rely completely on what's around them and their environment. And I remember when we were talking originally in class, a lot of students said that if they were going to survive a zombie apocalypse, that they would go and live on an island, a tropical island. And one of the episodes of Naked and Afraid shows a couple who were put onto a tropical island and then had to deal with a hurricane. They had to deal with the sun and the sunburn. So it sort of gave us a more realistic idea about what those environments might be like just to survive in, and how difficult it actually is to find food and water. And these were people who are survivalists, so they're people who are trained or have backgrounds in being able to survive. So there is a link to an assignment which looks at the video Naked and Afraid, but if you're not able to get a copy of that particular series, any of those sort of survival shows like Bear Grylls give you a similar sort of survival idea and survival example. Okay, that's all.